live. For those of y'all buddies just joining, let us know what your side hustles are in the chat, or if you're watching on YouTube, let us know in the comments what your side hustles are, and feel free to drop them. I see a lot of art, magazine, e-learning, podcast, blog, photography. That's awesome. Feel free to respond to the poll of what stage are your side hustle as well. So yeah. All right, we're officially starting. So welcome everyone. We're so excited to be here with our buddies at Products by Women, the founder Naimeesha, joining us today with Jackie and Xinni, our speakers today, and also our friendly moderators from Design Buddies, Eric and Kate. I'm going to share a couple of slides of what Design Buddies is in case y'all are new, and some quick house rules. So I'm Grace. I founded Design Buddies. Design Buddies is also my side hustle, full-time product designer in the games industry. But I created Design Buddies in April of 2020 because I was relatively new grad and I wanted to make some buddies in design. Found the internet kind of intimidating as a new designer. So I made Design Buddies to make some buddies in design. And since then we have scaled to over 30,000 members on Discord now. We host a lot of events. We have a lot of events, design challenges, and wholesomeness. Also, all stuff to help y'all level up in your design careers. Feel free to connect with us on any of our social media platforms. Yeah, so just some quick house rules. Events are recorded by attendee grant consent. However, if you do not wish to be part of the recording, you may watch us on YouTube, which you can just search by searching Design Buddies. And feel free to engage in the chat. If anything our speakers say resonate with y'all, feel free to respond, comment on each other's stories, respond to each other. And yeah, feel free to keep promotional links on the networking sheet and connect with each other as well. We want to encourage our buddies to get to know each other too. We also have Slido where you can submit and upvote questions. We prepared some interesting questions for the speakers, but we'll have some time at the end if you want to ask some speakers some questions and upvote each other's. We'll also have some group selfies at the end, which you can use our Zoom backgrounds if you want to twin with us or have your own Design Buddy Zoom backgrounds, and you can definitely use these at your work meetings too. Yeah, share takeaways on social media, tag Design Buddies, tag all of our speakers. We like to reshare y'all's Instagram stories. We tweet y'all's tweets on Twitter and everything like that. Connect with each other. Feel free to hop into our Discord, have fun, and be respectful. And yeah, Naimeesha, did you want to briefly talk about Products by Women?
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. I'm Naimeesha. I am the founder of Products by Women. We are a community-led network for women in product, tech, and business. We are a little over 20,000 members, and like Grace just mentioned, I started the community mainly because I transitioned from product marketing into product management, and I really didn't find any resources which could help me. Outside of that, there are a lot of amazing resources if you're trying to transition into product management, or if you're trying to learn anything in business or discover any small businesses or women-led businesses. So go do check it out. We are on all other social media sites. Just look for us, productsbywomen.com. Yeah, with that, I mean, I'm happy to kind of pass it back to you, Grace, and then we'll kick it off.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Yeah, definitely connect with Products by Women too. Kate just dropped the links in the chat and connect with Design Buddies. So I'm going to start with our first question is, how did you get to where you are today? What do you do full time and what side projects do you have? And feel free to share any fun facts about yourself too. And anyone can start. If there's a silence, I will popcorn someone. And I'll drop the question in the chat too. All right, I nominate Xinni.
Yeah, so the question is how we got to where we are today.
Yeah.
Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Xinni. I am a UX designer at Google full-time, and I have been for about 5 years now. So when I was a student, I think around 12 years ago, I started like this side hustle, which is to sell like anime and cartoon stickers and keychains and merch. So I see a lot of people in the chat here who does that too, which is great. I'm really hoping for more conventions to come in. So yeah, I actually met Grace at Crunchyroll anime convention where I was selling stuff. So some examples of what I sell. For example, I drew my shirt. I could sell like stuff like hair ties. The sticker was when I was streaming back then. So yeah, that's what I like to do on the site. And sorry, let me see, share any fun facts about myself. Okay, no pressure. I also have a cat that I adopted back in Silicon Valley Silicon Valley animal shelter when I was there. Now I'm back in Singapore. So yeah, so I had to like migrate him back amidst COVID. So yeah, I'm really hoping to learn with all of you and share my experiences. Next, I'll hand it over to Naimeesha.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Again, I mean, I shared a bit of my backstory, but a little bit more about me is that I founded Products by Women in like a couple of years ago, mainly because I saw a gap in product management and I was trying to learn more. Apart from that, I work full time in product and I'm consulting for Google at the moment, but I'm also going to be transitioning into another project, which is Okta. So mainly I work on like deep tech companies and go to market strategies. And most recently, a month ago, I launched Full Ritual, which is a lifestyle and wellness brand. I'm going to be dropping the information right here. I do a bunch of other things, kind of dabble on a bunch of other things like writing, podcasting. I've tried many things in the past. So, yeah, I'm happy to kind of chat if there's anything that resonates with you from my LinkedIn. Yeah, that's a little bit about me, but I'll pass it on next to Jackie to do a little bit of an intro. Oh, fun fact about me is that I grew up painting, but I haven't painted in like over, I think, 6 years now. So I think this is a sign with me just coming to Design Buddies that I need to resume you guys are really inspiring me.
All right, it's such a creative crowd. I love it. So hi folks, I'm Jackie. I am a product manager at Google. I work on local health search, helping folks find the care they need when they need it. On the side, I am the founder and owner of a company called Quorum, and Quorum is on a mission to amplify women's voices. So we do that by interviewing members of our community and then featuring their stories alongside candles. So here's an example of one of our candles. They're all hand illustrated by designers here in San Francisco. Here's just our box, which I think is a little difficult to read, but you can see all of it on our site, burnquorum.com. We just launched in September of last year, so everything is super new, happening very, very quickly. I'll share more of the story, of course, throughout the next hour. But ultimately, Quorum came about because of the need to really ensure that women's voices were protected and uplifted, and people felt validated by the experiences of others, and knowing that they're not necessarily alone in their own experiences. So still very, very fresh in our journey, but excited to see where Quorum will go. Some fun facts about me. Let's see, I also have cats, 2 quarantine cats, or pandemic cats, Peanut and Pisco. And they may or may not interrupt me during this nice call that we're having. So stay tuned.
Awesome. Thanks, Jackie. I loved hearing more about all of y'all's side hustles and backgrounds as well. I'm also a big fan of side hustles. Growing up, I've always never was really vibing with school. So growing up, I always drew in class. I always just drew anime, and that's how I got into anime. I love Pokemon. I love Shigokara, and Tamagotchis, and just those kind of things. Played games, anime, drew, posted my art on DeviantArt. I was also into cross country and track running, so I had a really big running blog where I just talked about running and life. And yeah, I just didn't really vibe. So I just brought my life online. And then in college, I actually majored in bioengineering and computer engineering because I had a lot of random goals. But later bring back to product design. In college, I was into game design development. So I designed and developed this virtual reality game to gamify learning in biology. And yeah, and also along the way after college, kind of after undergrad, I decided to venture into art business and started my art business where I made enamel pins. I have an early version of Fluffle here. It's like a bunny enamel pin, some Dongo cats. Oh, my virtual background is blending in, but I love fruit and animals. So and have a lychee cat as well. You can all find it on my website. But yeah, I always like to take risks and just explore. Like worst things you do is fail, but you learn something. So that's kind of like my motto in life. And now I'm working at Electronic Arts as a product UX product designer, 1 year after undergrad. So it's been fun. And fun fact about myself, I'll do a pet one as well. I didn't have any pets, but I had Tamagotchis, virtual pets. Or my parents bribed me with Tamagotchi, so I would try in school. I was not invited to school, so that's how I got motivated by my virtual pets. So I'm gonna segue into our first question is, what inspired you to start your side projects? And we're gonna go with Jackie.
I may have kickstarted my answer to this question in my initial response to the last question, but ultimately, the idea for Quorum came about, I'd say, in March of 2020. I've always been someone who's worked with young women from a mentorship perspective. It's something that I really enjoy, whether it's product management related or not. But in the early days of the pandemic, I was hanging out in my New York apartment, and ultimately was just really frustrated. I was frustrated at seeing all the things that seem to disproportionately affect women. Of course, not exclusively impacting women, but in the early days of the pandemic, things like losing their jobs, potentially being stuck at home with their domestic abusers, all sorts of things, like really chronic problems. And I knew that these stories had to be told, right? We had to ensure that these weren't just headlines that would last for a few months and then disappear and folks would forget about it. So that paired with my personal experiences, hearing the stories of family and friends, times where people said the things that they experienced weren't real, lots of gaslighting, or they dismissed it, or later on rewriting their stories, just came to a head for me. And so I got to thinking about what are ways in which these stories can be shared with others in an easy to digest format, in a way that goes beyond a publication, mainly because there are so many great publications already out there. And so I had to think a lot about different formats and different tangible experiences that people could have that would ultimately ensure that these stories could be shared, they could be heard, and hopefully people could learn from them as well. And so that's the inspiration behind Quorum, and it's enabled us to be where we are now.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Thanks so much for sharing. Those stories are definitely really important, and thank you for amplifying them. I'll hand it over to Naimeesha for our next question.
Yeah, I mean, the next question is really kind of shifting gears about what are your favorite parts of having a side project outside of your full-time job? And I think I want to kick this off by talking about the main reason that I really kind of started a side project, or why I really enjoy doing this is, I truly do believe that everybody here, like 155 people on this event, should consider having a side project, mainly because I think it's really important for everybody to know that they're more than their job. And also there are so many more benefits of having a side hustle, right? Like one is, of course, you can have like a potential revenue stream. It increases your confidence. You know that it's not just your job or your end of your review that defines who you are. You of course sleep well at night, such a rewarding experience, so on and so forth. But really, I want to ask Xinni next on like, what was your really motivation, and what kind of makes you think that this is something that you wanted to do?
Yeah, I also want to chime in, like side project is something that, you start on your own because you're passionate about it. And it also goes hand in hand with your full-time job because you are not defined by your job. But also you're not defined by your side project, because a lot of these, side projects are really difficult because you are already spending so much energy and time in your 9 to 5 full-time job. And so like, if you feel like right now is not the right time to do a side project, that's also fine. It's just something like, if you have a passion, go for it. And something that I really like about having a full-time job on top of my side project is that even though I've always liked art, and I've been doing this for such a long time, over a decade, I like that I don't have to rely on my art to make myself money. Instead, I can use the money from my full-time job to fund my side project. And that allows me, to draw whatever I want to draw. So when people ask me like, oh, can you do commissions, or can you draw this particular character? it's very easy for me to say no because I'm completely doing this out of my own passion. So yeah, this is one of my favorite things, doing a side project that is not my full-time project. And of course, like when we talk about scaling later, there's a totally different scenario. But right now, I'm really happy that I have a full-time job and a side project, and it allows me to explore my passions. Yeah.
Thank you.
And next, I wanted to, yeah. Do I pass on to the next person?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I will then ask Grace, like, what's your favorite part of your side project, apart from your main project, your main job?
Yeah, I also resonate. Like, I like doing art for fun, but I don't like to have pressure. Like, have the if someone wants me to draw a character, I have my full-time job that can also fund my side hustle and back and forth and stuff as well. Yeah, but I like having different things to do. Like, I feel like if I were just to do like UX design, I might just get bored. I really love like doing art. Like, I've been recently getting really into 3D art and more illustration and just having a variety of things. I feel like right now I never see myself specializing anyway. I just like doing a wide variety of different things and seeing them kind of all connect. Like art, business, UX design, product management with design buddies as well. So it's been fun. I just like having like different parts of my brain and just like learning about the world by doing side projects, like learning by doing, like that's my favorite part. Yeah. How about you, Naimeesha? What's your favorite part? Or
Yeah,
what is, I guess, should I go to the next question or?
yeah, I mean, I can definitely talk about a little bit more about that, but I think somebody just put in the chat about passion, right? Like, I think passion is truly a gift, and I think a full-time job allows you to explore your passion, and I think it's really important to have that balance so that you're not compelled to really do things that you have those spurts of like motivation and not. So it's really important to have the passion and consistency to scale your projects or side hustles. But yeah, I mean, go ahead and ask the next question if you have one already, Grace.
Yeah, feel free to chime in as well, Jackie, if you'd like. I'm just following the sheet. But yeah, the next question is, had your site hustle you in your career growth? And feel free to give any examples as well, and I'll pass it over to Jackie.
Sure. Yeah. Given that my career is in product management, like a lot of what I'm thinking about in my full-time job is around product strategy, right? How do we reach more customers? How do we ensure that we're actually solving people's problems? And of course, a lot of inner stakeholder management, as you might imagine, at Google being a massive company, and lots of folks are involved. So, on the quorum side of things, it's just me, right? And so I don't necessarily have to think as much about the stakeholder management, but I am still practicing the whole gamut of everything else, right? It's just me running this business. I make the candles, I interview people for their stories. I ensure that all the packages are done up right and I can ship them out on time. And I'm also responsible for marketing and thinking through social media strategy. And the list kind of goes on and on, including like perhaps the boring things like legal and making sure we have a good privacy policy in place and all these kinds of things. And so when I think about like my full-time job, having the diversity of experiences as an entrepreneur, and I have had other entrepreneurial ventures in the past, has really enabled me to be successful as a PM because I have that perspective, right? It's enabled me to think through all of the different loopholes, all of the questions that my other stakeholders may ask because I've had to do similar things in my solo ventures. And so I'd say like that is the biggest asset for me, again, as a PM, because of the kind of central role that you play on a team or in a company, and having to interface with so many different types of people.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. I resonate a lot with that. Just like knowing all the loophole, knowing all the like holes and parts of the process, and also just as also like a product designer helps a lot as well in my job, and being able to see the whole product and having goals and breaking down these big goals into actionable steps in like a smaller scale helps me see how it scales in like a large company like EA. So definitely resonate a lot with that. So I encourage everyone to start side projects too. You'll learn a lot. And you'll learn a lot also about like sales, marketing, legal stuff, taxes. All these things are stuff you'll learn along the way that they don't teach you in school. But there's a lot of resources on the internet. With that, we're going to segue into our next question is, what challenges did you face along the way when building and scaling your side projects? So I'll pass it over to Xinni.
Yeah, I want to answer the challenges questions after like we talked about our favorites. But I guess like I'm very different from Grace in that I don't do side projects to learn. I do side projects to continue this passion that I had ever since I was young. And I think like, one of the downsides, because like I guess all of us work in product, and I guess a lot of us in this audience work in tech as well. But when you work in a corporate company, like everything is about impact, right? And so like you can't help but like to take this mindset into your side project, and then you're like, when you're young, you're like, oh, I used to do this because it's my passion, and I want to draw this because I love this anime character. But over now, if you do it as a side hustle and you work in product, it's like, if I make a sticker of this, like how many sales will I get? And will this actually have impact? And the challenge for me was this actually like got me to procrastinate, and I didn't finish a lot of projects that I wanted to do because I felt like it had no impact. So I think that's one I guess challenge as an adult. You maybe lose this kind of like innocent naive charm that used to like keep you going, and you have to find you sort of have to like challenge yourself and be aware of this change in mindset as you grow into an adult, pursuing the same passion that you had as a kid, because your mindset is going to be different. So I think that's one challenge. And of course, another challenge right now is COVID. It kind of like stopped all the anime conventions. So without that community, like if I share very honestly with you, I haven't like made any merch for about a year now. Like I was busy moving back to Singapore, and oftentimes like I ask myself, like, is this like, is this, am I going to stop this forever? Like I'm going to turn 30. So like, is this childhood dream of mine like gone forever? But of course, like if you're a big challenge, like if you don't feel like doing your side project anymore, like I do right now, I think a few things that helped me was like reassuring myself that I'm creative in other ways. So even though I'm not doing the same side projects, like the core of it, like the passion is still there, and I can pick it up. I mean, like even though I'm turning 30, it's not the end of the world. Like I still have time. It's okay to pause once in a while, and then also reminding myself that, like, this is a pandemic. A lot of people are sick or dying, and don't be too hard on yourself if you find it really hard to maintain a full-time job and a side project during a pandemic. Just take it easy on yourself and remind yourself like why you want to do this in the first place is because you believe in a cause or a passion or the passion. Yeah, so this is like honestly the challenge that I'm facing, and all the things I guess I'm trying to tell myself to start from where I am and move forward from it. And
Yeah, thanks for
next,
sharing.
I want to also have this. Oh, sorry. Oh, go ahead, Grace.
Oh no, you go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna pass it to the next person. What challenges did you face along the way? I would like to hear from Jackie.
Sure, thanks, Xinni. So much of what you just said resonates with me, and I think a lot of the challenges that I've faced with Forum are much more like emotional, right, and personal versus like the actual tactical items of setting up a business and making sure you're properly registered and even designing these products. Like, of course they're hard, but those are the fun parts for me. I think the challenge is when you have highs and you have lows, right? There might be days where you have tons of sales, or you get a really glowing review and it makes you so happy, or someone responds to your email and you ask them for feedback. But then there are plenty of days where it's just crickets, right? It's as I mentioned, like Quorum only launched under 4 months ago, and so with that, like I don't have necessarily like this sweeping consistency, and I don't have like hundreds and hundreds of dollars of sales every single day. Like, sure, it'd be great if we got to that point, but we're not there yet. And so keeping that consistency just in myself and knowing that like what I'm doing is enough, and that every day that I commit, just even if it's just a little bit of time towards helping Quorum grow, towards reaching out to customers and getting to know them better, does add up to a lot of impact along the way and in the bigger picture. And that just helps me stay kind of level-headed and ensuring that, you know, it's all going to be okay. I'm all going in the right direction because I am committed to this, and I'm committed to, you know, our community and our storytellers. And I'll pass it back to you, Grace.
Yeah, thank y'all so much for sharing. I really like what Xinni said, to make sure that your side project, it's like a passion, because I definitely went through points where I lost myself in just focusing on impact. I feel like this was with Design Buddies. I'll just be transparent. This was with Design Buddies end of 2021. We're getting a ton of brand deals, a ton of like people reaching out to us for events. So it led to me mostly hosting 3 to 4 events each week for 2 months straight, led to a massive burnout. So I feel like just going back, whenever you're feeling burnt out, just like going back to like why you're doing it and trying to live a balanced life, or even delegate more, or paying for like services that help automate a task. Like that's like a lesson like I've learned. So I definitely just wanted to add on to that, making sure you're still enjoying it and strategizing like how can you plan your side projects so that it keeps being fun. So that's what happened to me like really recently. So try to focus, be more chill. That's like my life goal. Well, not my life goal, my goal right now, to be more chill. I would pass over to Naimeesha for the next question.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Such a wonderful conversation there. And I love that. But I guess the next question is, like, all of us have full-time jobs, which is like, so the next question is really mainly about how do you really balance everything that you're doing, which is your 9 to 5, or nowadays it's not even 9 to 5, it's more like 9 to I don't know when. And then also kind of, you know, follow your passion projects, like what we're all doing right now is hosting this event. And then after this, I know there'll be a lot of follow-up and preparing for the next event or the next side hustle. So what are some productivity hacks? I know for myself, I mean, really for me as a product manager, this part comes very naturally, which is I prioritize the hell out of my personal life, my side hustles, everything, literally my books. I mean, I can literally show you, this is my notepad, and I literally have prioritization matrix in my notes to everything that I do. I roadmap everything, and I bring agile practices into everything that I'm doing. So this is something that I really do. And what's something that you do, Jackie, as a fellow product manager? And I would like everybody to kind of, you know, weigh in here.
I feel like you're so much more hardcore than I am, Naimeesha, when it comes to product management prioritization. So I probably could bring more PM best practices into my personal life, like Naimeesha does. But ultimately, you know, like this is about balance. I think that the things that I have to keep in perspective is that I do have a full-time job. That is the job that pays me, and that is always going to be my top priority, right? I have to ensure that I'm being successful there, and ensuring that I'm helping my peers succeed as well. And so when it comes to Quorum, that means that I have to set time blocks up, and in knowing that I can't necessarily contribute 2 hours every single day after work, right? I have also personal life responsibilities. I need to cook dinner some nights of the week, or I need to go hang out with my family, right? I can't just be a hermit and exclusively focus on Quorum after work hours. And so setting up those time blocks, being really honest and realistic with myself about how long it takes to actually get stuff done, you know, especially with distractions and whatever that may be. And then perhaps this is less of a tip, or I said like a productivity hack, but knowing when to delegate, right? Like I think, you know, I have the good fortune to be able to invest in other people's skills when possible for Quorum. So, you know, I hired a product designer or packaging designer specifically for our boxes that contain our candles, designing the labels, and also a branding designer. I knew, of course, like the ideas that I had. I knew I wanted the different values of the brand of being bold and inclusive and loud to be part of that. And I certainly helped refine the idea, but I am by no means a branding expert. So knowing where I have weaknesses and other people have strengths and having the ability to invest in that in others really makes a big difference in me not wasting my time on stuff that would probably not even turn out that great, and being able to invest in the things that I am really good at and concentrating my effort there.
I love what you just mentioned. And I think it's such an important skill to know and be self-aware of like what you can put your effort towards and where you need to scale back and let others step in, especially as someone who's trying to scale your side hustle or even as a product manager. But, I would really like Grace and Xinni to kind of weigh in here because I think this is such an important topic as such. Grace, do you want to go first?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think delegation is something that I've learned on the way, because so I started Design Buddies April of 2020, and I didn't really have that much experience in school doing clubs at all, in any leadership experience. So it was just like me randomly making a Discord server and like having 30,000 people join in like a year. And then like a few of our friendly admins wanting to help out and me trying to like figure it out. Like I didn't have any business plan. I didn't have any plans. I was just like, just make a fun server, and then it grew. So along the way, I kind of noticed like what needs the most help. So our first priority is like community. And so we have moderators that help like remove spam and things like that, because that's our first priority, making sure people feel safe. And then we kind of branched out. So on our team, we have over 40 people. So we have an events team, content team, graphic design team, product design team, public relations team. And so we kind of branched out, and community team as well. So we branch out to different needs of the community. And then I asked people like who's the most interested, or I identified like leaders or people who have taken a lot of initiatives and asked them, do you want to lead this? And so I feel like delegation also gives other people the opportunity to lead. And so it's like less work on me, but they also are experts in their field and helps them get like more leadership experience as well. So I used to feel really bad bothering people, but then I realized it's like they want to do it, and it like helps them too, and I can help them like write a recommendation letter and stuff. So yeah, I recognize like a win-win situation. So delegation is key. Like it's like hard at first, but I realized that like yeah, other people can do it, and yeah, and I just like kind of feel the needs and go from there. And I'll pass it on to you, Xinni.
Yeah, I think everyone here has key leadership qualities like delegation. I guess what I have is the most rudimentary way of being productive. I think back when I think my most productive year was in 2019. On top of my full-time job, I did 10 anime conventions in a year. So it was like every month. Oh, and there was even one time where, because I was in the YouTube gaming team, so we all like went to TwitchCon on like a company event. But like I dropped out of the company event at the last minute to attend TwitchCon as an artist. So like I saw all my coworkers there, like enjoying their industry event while I was there, like as an artist, just peddling my wares. So I think productivity wise, like that was one of my most productive. And back then I've always like maintained this, I guess, to-do list and inspirational board on Google Keep. So it's just I always keep like my top 5 images of the kind of art that I want to create. And then it's just like, oops, sorry, you can't really see it. It's just a list of ideas. I currently have like 100 now, but I always have, it's kind of like, how to say, if you have 100 ideas, then you definitely can't do all of it. So just put it in a list somewhere and dump it there. But always have like maybe 5 or 6 that you want to do for the next con. Yeah, so this is just like very simple prioritization. Yeah, and I'll hand it back to Grace for the next question.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to try to get through as much questions. I know we have like 20 minutes left for our group photo and some questions submitted. But our next question is, well, I'm going to skip this one since I'm just looking to the sheet, so we can have some time for audience questions as well. And so our next question is, do you think about making your side project full-time, and what do you think would need to that? Like what, I guess, like criteria would you need for that to happen, to make your side projects full-time? And I'll hand it over to Xinni.
Oh yeah, I remember adding this question. So I think this question is about, like the next step in your side hustle, which I'm definitely not there yet, but I definitely thought about it. So right now, the side hustle is something like, at night you're drawing, you're creating merch, contacting suppliers, doing taxes, and what will it take to do full time? So the first thing I did, like when I did 10 conventions in 2019, was that, if you want to do something full time, it means like you earn money from it and you can support yourself and your future plans, and your future. Like if you want kids, if you want to buy a house, you can fund all of that with just your side hustle. So even when I did 10 cons on the site in 2019, I realized that I would earn enough to pay for my rent and my food and survival, but that's it. Like no benefits, no retirement, and that's why I'm still my full-time job. So I think one of the things when you think about doing this full time is like your whole living and future will depend on this side hustle, and therefore it probably needs to take off enough like money side, and you have to think about what it means, like in terms, can it be just your passion anymore now that you're making a living from it? So yeah, I guess advice from someone who hasn't done it. That's like a rough calculation I did. Yeah, but I think I was still like quite proud of myself that like, oh, I would have managed to survive even if I didn't have a full-time job. And next, I will pass it on to Grace, back to Grace, on, what about making your side project your full-time?
Yeah, for sure. I think those are definitely really important to consider, like your long-term plan. I've got asked this question a ton, design buddies. My question is, I don't know. I'm 24, and I am really new in my career, and I feel like as long as I'm learning or earning, then I feel like it's a good job to have. And right now, I feel like I'm learning and earning from both design buddies and EA. I'm learning a lot of actionable skills that can be transferred over both directions. That's why I think where I'm at, like I'm probably gonna stay until I feel like I stop learning. That's when I pivot. But also something I noticed, I'm like in college, I had a lot of friends who are entrepreneurs, and I feel like jumping full scale into a company without gaining experience, for me, it was risky because there's a lot of things I don't know, like taxes, dealing with stakeholders, dealing with users, business stuff, legal. And I'm experiencing a small scale first before going into like the large scales. And I honestly don't know what I want to do. Like I kind of like low-key want to be a digital nomad and just like vibe and chill. Yeah, I don't know. So but I feel like my philosophy is just to like take it one step at a time and don't feel pressure to like know your 5-year plan, and it's okay to change. Like a year or 2 years ago, I thought I wanted to be a software engineer, like a game developer, and 2 years before that I thought I wanted to be a neurosurgeon. So things always change. Give yourself room to explore, and don't feel like you have to do that one thing, especially you have all the time to figure it out. It doesn't even matter your age. I know some people who like are switch careers like in their 60s and learn to program the first time. Like I saw on LinkedIn as well. So don't compare yourself to others. Like everyone's on their own journey, and don't feel the pressure to know it all and jump full time. But yeah, does anyone else want to go next, or we can go to the next question?
I just want to add on, like, I mean, all over social media, you'll see all of these messages like saying, I quit my job, I quit my job. It all sounds really glamorous, but some unfiltered advice is like, to what Xinni just mentioned, like really do some math and see, if what you're doing is going to substitute your current life before you actually jump in full time, because I think it's really important to do that. And also consider to see like how long it's going to take for you to quit your job and actually replace, to not just like found a company, but also scale it and make enough revenue to keep it going, but also pay yourself. They are two different things. So I think this is just some really well-wished advice to everybody who's out here. Don't like just listen to everybody say, I'm just going to quit my job today because I just feel like I'm going to make it, because the reality is that there are more chances that things may not take off and then it take off. And I really hope everybody's side hustles take off, but it's important to weigh both the sides out.
Yeah, do we want to go to the next question?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
I feel like we've kind of, touched on that a little bit, which is mainly specific to funding your side hustles, which is, a lot of us do have full-time jobs. But I think the one part that I do want to kind of briefly touch on with Full Ritual is that it's something that I have, I bootstrap products by women, and I've kind of partnered with a friend of mine to build and launch Full Ritual. But that's from 0 to 1, from 1 to 100, which is actually kind of scaling it as a woman of color and scaling the business. We've just landed a big deal with Ipsy, which is a beauty subscription box. But the reality is that it takes a lot of effort, and we don't have those kind of credit lines. So it's yeah, thank you guys. It's something that you need to think of, like if you are looking to scale, what are the opportunities you have in terms of like scaling your business. But whether it's bootstrapping, whether it's angels, whether it's family or friends, how do you want to do it? Just something to think about. But I'll pass it on to anybody else who wants to pitch in here.
Yeah, I mean, and congrats, Naimeesha. That's awesome. We'll catch up with you afterwards about that. So, I just to add on, I think it's been mentioned now by some of the other speakers, and then also in the side chat, like it really comes down to your margins as well, right? Like I think as something starting a business that is bootstrapped, and Quorum, like I started the idea in March of 2020. As I mentioned, I only launched it in September of last year, and part of that was I did a cross-country move. And I also got married, and these things had to be launching Quorum had to kind of work around those timelines, right? So I did delay it a little bit, but as a result, that's more than a year of not having any revenue coming in the door, right? And so I had to make sure that I had a proper budget in place to ensure that I could cover those upfront costs. And starting a business is not cheap, right? Like even if you have very minimal COGS, right, of cost of goods sold, perhaps it's all digital, there are still so many other costs, I think, that frankly surprised me, like getting the right legal paperwork in place, filing for a business. Again, I was in New York and now I'm in California, both very expensive states to run business out of. And so all of these things, some of those were unexpected costs, but I did have a bit of buffer just from my personal expenses. So spending less money on my personal life and being able to invest in this more. And then working really diligently and ensuring that my business model made sense, right? Like I make a material good. It has a lot of aspects to it. It's got, of course, like the wax, the jars, all these different things that go into one single candle. Then it's hiring the designer that I had to account for. The packaging itself, packaging is not cheap. The shipping materials, right? There's so many different little line items that I think as a consumer wasn't necessarily something that I thought about really deeply. But then upon starting the business, had to think about, okay, well, what are those margins perhaps like at launch, which could be modest, right? But how can I optimize those to ensure that that margin is growing as I scale? Because there are lots of discounts that are offered, right? The more boxes you order, the more jars I order, et cetera. And so knowing like which of those costs were variable over time, versus which of those were not. And maybe needing to take some shortcuts with some parts of the product and invest more heavily, such as investing in high quality fragrance oils to ensure that our candles smell really good, because that is not something that I would be able to go back and fix later on.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Where did Naimeesha go? Did she? Oh,
I'm right here.
Oh,
can you not see me?
Oh, sorry, someone raised their hand. I thought it jumped off.
Right
Okay.
Cool. I think, yeah, the rest of the questions, I mean, Grace, if you have any, or we can wrap it up and take some questions that are coming in.
Yeah, we have one more free fab question, but we have some interesting questions that came in as well. But I guess another way of funding side hustle is business through ads, sponsorships and stuff. So I guess that's more for like if you're more like a creator business model. I mean, that's what we do at Design Buddies. So we can keep our operational costs, so we can keep everything just like free for our users and stuff. So yeah, that's another way. So our last question before hopping to some of our buddy questions is, what are your life goals and where do you see yourself in 5 years? And what are you doing now to get there? And I'll nominate Xinni.
Yeah, what are my life goals? So, so I also have a slide deck for myself and a life roadmap for where I want to be. But I think when you're planning for, when you're planning for your life, like don't think about your main project or side project for a moment, but think about like again what you truly care about. And for example, for me, I decided that my life mission is I want to help people do their best work and their best creative work. So for example, at work, I also have a lot of side projects at Google. We have this thing called 20%. So I'm really lucky to be part of a company that's really supportive of side projects. So I tend to take up projects where I do research into how people collaborate and how people become more productive. So which is really, really far from, my side project, which is my art. But at work, I also, like, for example, designed the Google Anime Club t-shirt. So for me, I think like where I see myself in 5 years is, accepting the reality that my side project is not my main project. And I will always have this full-time job, but like trying to find ways to blend, my full-time job with my passion, which is art and creative communities. And my hope is like one day I will leave I will leave like the comfort of my big tech company and maybe fund a startup where I build more communities. So I have a lot to learn from Grace but like I really do want to one day work on a product where we get people together to draw, to knit, to play music. That would be like a life dream. Yeah, and I'll pass it back to Grace.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing. I also have similar goals as well. Like I like to create spaces where people feel like they belong. They feel like their opinions are respected and heard, even if they might be different. Like a culture, people just like respect everyone's opinions, no matter if they're different from others. And where people from like all walks of life feel like they can feel included. This also was partially inspired by me not really fitting in school and knowing how that felt like and wanting to change that for people in Design Buddies too. And at EA, I actually work on, I can't say too much of NDA, but I work on a lot of like marketing products and a lot of stuff for like events, engaging people, and just like helping people connect. So in Design Buddies, a project to help people connect. And so they're all like a little bit connected. So yeah, I like doing that as well. And does anyone else want to add to this question before we segue into some audience questions? Okay, so feel free to just unmute yourself if you want to answer. We just listed some from Slido on the doc. The first question is, how do you remain consistent with your side project, especially if you want to grow your 9 to 5, but you're also a solo founder managing so many tasks?
I can jump in here. And I think, a lot of what it's called a side project for a reason. It is fueled by your passion, right? Nobody's forcing me to do what I'm doing. It energizes me. Honestly, at the end of the day, when people ask me, like, aren't you exhausted, like doing like 4 different things at the same time, along with, just to kind of say it, like, I have a full-time job. I do have a 4-year-old baby, like not a baby anymore, but a son, a toddler, and I have 2 side hustles. But the point is that, everything that I do on the side allows me to sleep better at night. It really energizes me. And I'm super passionate about what I do. I am very passionate about giving back. Everything that we've done in Products by Women, we've not monetized. In fact, if anything, I've bootstrapped it. It again goes back to the point that I didn't have access to these skills. I am an immigrant in the US. I didn't have opportunities for myself, and I want to make sure that, not just for myself, I have these opportunities to learn, but everybody who's coming after me, it becomes a little bit more easier for them. Yeah. And then with Full Ritual, it's truly a creative outlet. It's nothing related to tech. It's lifestyle and wellness related. It really, really excites me. I love working on physical products. Yeah.
That's awesome. Oh, Xinni, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I want to like offer kind of like a different perspective in case like because passion and motivation is not always like there all the time. So I want to recall a quote that really had an impact on me that I'm not really practicing right now. But like basically the quote was like motivation and inspiration is bullshit. And the real like thing that gets you where you are is discipline. So like for a very long time, like forcing myself to do things uh, used to be something that I do to like kickstart something. So I think like there's always like your passion doesn't really change. Like you always feel strongly for something, but whether you're motivated to take action and like start a project out of it, like that motivation isn't always there. So I think a lot of times like you are procrastinating and you're like, oh okay, I feel really lost. I don't know what to do next, or like you're giving yourself excuses for not starting something or not like being consistent with your side project. So one way you can go about it is like really just force yourself, like start that first drawing, like mint that first NFT, or like make your first product. Like really like at sometimes right, discipline has to come into play. So I would say like that's one way of looking at it, like being consistent. I have tried that before. There's been times where like I stopped drawing for 3 years and I just sign myself up for conventions, like because and if I go there and if I have nothing, then like that'll be really bad because I was a student and I spent money on it. So really like forcing yourself by signing up for things, that's one thing. You make something else accountable for you, and sort of like force yourself to be disciplined. I would say like that's one way to look at it. But again, like this is a pandemic, be kind to yourself. Not everyone can be consistent all the time. Like I guess like this is what I want to hear because I haven't been doing merch for like a year now. I was like migrating and I bought an apartment. I also got married. There's just so many things in life where like you really cannot afford to retain your passion or even discipline. But I would say like, yeah, approach it many different ways. If you can find it in yourself to force yourself and discipline yourself when there's no motivation, then by all means go ahead. Yeah, but I really like the quote where like motivation is bullshit because like it's so fleeting. You can't control it to come to you, but the only thing you can control is really like your discipline. Yeah, that's what I have to say about how to be consistent.
Yeah, I love that. I resonate with that so hard. Like, I feel like motivation comes and goes. It's like unpredictable, but I feel like I guess an actual tip would be like developing a habit. And I feel like that first step, like making that first drawing, minting your first NFT, doing your first run, like getting out there, it's like the hardest one. It takes the most like activation energy. But once you build a loop, it gets easier from there. So yeah, we're gonna go for our next, or well, we have 2 more minutes before our photo. I'm gonna try to pick an interesting one. Um, let's touch a bit of a legal side of things. I feel like that is also a really important one to consider to protect yourself, a mistake I made before as well. That's a crazy story from the trenches there for design buddies, but maybe we could maybe this question could be phrased as like, is there anything that surprised you or any like resources you would give to someone looking to legally protect themselves, or also any other additional pieces of advice you would like to share today that didn't get a share earlier? And so we can open the floor to anyone.
So I guess my product's a little unique and perhaps maybe different if folks are mostly designers in this room. But I think legally there's a few different aspects of legal. And I put some of these in the chat already, right? There's founding the actual business, making sure that you are properly registered in the state or states where you're doing business, making sure that you've completed all of that paperwork thoroughly, right? You've paid all your dues, you are staying on track of that year over year. Is really important just so that you're staying kind of in the green there. For me, I have a privacy policy and I also have terms of service. A lot of times you can use stuff that's kind of out of the box. I went the bespoke path because it was really important to me that our storytellers could trust that I had their best interests in mind when building this product, right? And everything that they share with us, they're able to publish elsewhere, right? None of this is exclusive. I don't lock them into anything. But I also, on top of that, respect their identity, right? I only reveal a name and or pronouns in first name only. We never reveal last name of our storytellers if they choose to participate in that, right? People are more than welcome to remain anonymous. So all of that kind of gets packaged into our terms of service and privacy policy. And then on top of that, I have to have insurance. So depending on the product that you're selling or the business that you're doing, it's probably just a good idea to have insurance regardless. I have to have insurance, especially because I sell a flammable product, right? And I cannot afford to be held personally liable if someone unfortunately does something irresponsible with their candle when it's lit. So following all of the kind of compliance laws. So on the bottom of all of our boxes, you get like all of the standard legal jargon that says the things you're not supposed to do with a candle. And then on top of that, again, having that kind of liability insurance so that in hopefully a circumstance that never happens, you know, in the case of that, then I am personally protected, my business is protected, because otherwise we're subject to a lawsuit that could cost, you know, an unlimited amount of money and potentially bankrupt the business.
Yeah, I'll just add on there, and I think Jackie covered a lot of it. But you know, apart from that, if you are thinking, it's really, really important to protect yourself and also your business, but also kind of protecting your partnerships. Like for me with Full Ritual, I co-founded this with my elementary school friend, and I think it's extremely important if you're getting into business, especially with your friends or your you know, someone who you've been working with, to kind of protect not just your interest, but also your friendship. And it's really important to have it all laid out. Do get yourself an attorney or a lawyer. Make sure everything is reviewed and protected. And that's very, very critical and vital for you to be kicking off a business and making sure all of those loose ends are tied. So just wanted to add that piece.
Yeah, definitely. Also really important to consider as well. Also legal protection, and also like Rocket Lawyer and LegalZoom are like ones I started with as well. So those are some things you can look into, not sponsored. But yeah, Xinni, did you also have anything else you wanted to add before we take our group photo? Of like anything, any other like side hustle tips too?
Yeah, I have nothing else to add. Thank you all for listening. And if you have any questions outside of this, like feel free to message me on LinkedIn. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you all so much. We're gonna do our group photo now, so I'll give it a few seconds for everyone to turn on their camera. Feel free to bring your favorite plants, your animals, your pets if you want. I have Fofo here with me today. And yeah, thank you so much to Naimeesha Products by Women, so Jackie and Xinni, for sharing all of your experiences and actual tips with our buddies here today. We got a lot of questions, so feel free to connect with our speakers if you have any additional questions. I'm happy to answer any as well. And feel free to also connect with other buddies and support each other on all of y'all's side hustle journeys. And also join our Discord. I'll count down 5 seconds for y'all. And we're gonna do a static one first and then a wave for Instagram story. It's something like do a design bias to spice things up. I always say that. You spice things up. All right, I'm gonna take multiple and choose the one where everyone looks the best in. So, right, 5. Oh my god, I see a Shiba. 4, 3. I love the plants. I love the cats. 2, 1. Say fuffle. Wait. Oh, also you can react if you don't want to turn your camera. Forgot to say that. See some people doing that. All right, awesome. So we can keep reacting. I'm gonna do a group photo for our Instagram story at design.buddies. We like to spice things up at the end as well. All right, ready, set, wave. Hello, buddies. We are at Scaling Your Side Hustle with our buddies at Products by Women and speakers Naimeesha, Xinni, and Jackie. Thank you, buddies, for coming, and check out the recording on our YouTube channel. Awesome. Thank you all so much. That wraps up our event. We're going to open a breakout room for our hosts to quickly debrief. Welcome to stay, connect with each other. I just feel bad kicking people out, so y'all can stay if you want and connect with each other and chat with each other if you want. We're just gonna open a breakout room. So yeah, I'm gonna stop live streaming on YouTube.